some, so this is aspartic acid, right? So this is where we can make certain ones. We have the ability to transaminate certain ones to get to other ones. This is summarizing the ones we get from the tricarboxylic acid cycle. So these are the ones we get from the TCA cycle.
So only at those 2 points, only at alpha ketoglutarate and oxalo.
Yeah. Yeah, because that means these pathways run in both directions. Some pathways only run in one direction.
Okay.
So that's good for that. Okay. All right. Figure 1414. This we already talked about. It's just giving it to you in another way. The alanine cycle. We talked about this, right? Okay. So if you have, and then we also talked about the Cori cycle, right? The Cori cycle is pyruvate to lactate, and then lactate goes to the liver and then gets converted back to glucose. This is the alanine cycle, glucose to pyruvate to alanine, and then you go alanine to pyruvate back to glucose. So there you go. When you convert alanine back to pyruvate, you lose a nitrogen. When you convert pyruvate to alanine, you're doing a transamination. Okay? I mean, it's, right, and then so, because you're moving that amine group from pyruvate, which you guys remember what pyruvate looks like? Let's go look at what pyruvate looks like. I know everybody's like, oh, bummer.
So this is underneath, this is considered amino acid synthesis, or that's just a, that's...
So this is when you're okay, so let's look at, let me get pyruvate out here. What does pyruvate have on it?
Keto group.
What is that? Yeah. Right. So that's why this works. Because we have a mechanism whereby we can move nitrogen. So if we have pyruvate, we can convert it to alanine through moving that amino group. When we move that amino group, we have a different thing. Maybe we need alanine because we need to make it. Maybe we need alanine in protein synthesis. Maybe we need alanine because we can now send it to the liver, get rid of extra nitrogen, and then send it back as glucose for fuel. But this mechanism can be used in multiple conditions in the cell, because this is a ketone. And we know we have the ability to move an amino to a ketone, like change those two things back and forth. So, what am I asking you about this figure for the exam? The Cori and the alanine cycle, that's it. Just understand, glucose can be converted to either lactate or alanine in the muscle, right? And then it goes back to the liver and then gets converted back to glucose. That's just how that happens.
So, I'm sorry, so the glucose can be...
You convert it to, yes.
And alanine can be...
So yes, okay, so in the muscle cell, you can turn glucose into lactate, which is the Cori cycle, or you can convert it into alanine. When you convert it into alanine, the advantage is you can take some nitrogen out of the cell, and that nitrogen can go back to the liver. And the liver can send that nitrogen out as urea. So those
and transamination and whatever the first one
exactly,
take
and
place
deamination, right. So you've got, those are the pieces whereby this runs. You don't have to tell me anything specific. If I'm asking you about transamination, it's simply I'm asking you, what is this, right? Did you move a nitrogen group or not? Or, this became this. Is this a transamination or a deamination? That's just basic understanding about that stuff. These bigger mechanisms, take it home, look at it over the next 2 weeks.
Okay, and I'm sorry, and the Cori cycle involves...
The Cori cycle is the lactate.
But the lactate, how the lactate...
So the Cori cycle is just the cycle whereby glucose goes to pyruvate, and then in the absence of oxygen, you go to lactate. And then the lactate has to be exported because it's also acidic, and so it gets exported to the liver so that it can be turned back into glucose to neutralize the acidity in the muscle it has to leave.
But is transamination... Or
no, it's not. These cycles are just attached because you're both looking at things that are being used for energy and pyruvate in the muscle and sent out. And they're attached in an earlier chapter.
Okay.